what is a clause and how is it different from a phrase? What is a clause and how is it different from a phrase? Nobody knows. Oh, well, we are going to be on page 82. So who can tell me? One of them has a subject and verb in, and the other is not necessarily complete thought. Which one? Which one has the subject and verb? You guys need to wake up. Have you had a long week already?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. The weather's been nice. Is that what's been tough? Your mom makes you stay inside and do schoolwork?
No, it's
Yeah.
It's waking up at 5 in the morning every day.
Okay, Wesley.
No.
Someday, you're going to have to get up and go to drive to a job.
I know.
5 o'clock in the morning every day.
I know, I understand that, but I don't think I have to be waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to school.
Okay. All right. So, I guess we have to go all the way back to the very beginning and review. Which one, phrases or clauses, has a subject and verb in it? I know that Mr. Record knows. Yes. Thank you. That's the wrong answer. Phrases don't have a subject and verb. You know that. Yeah. Like prepositional phrase, does it have a subject and a verb?
No.
No. I'll do the other day with my third graders, Marie, you'll be happy to know. I got them screaming over at Parish Hall. Thank you. So they, when we have a prepositional phrase, let me do a sentence. Johnny ran over the rocks. All right, here's our little lesson. We want the skeleton first. Tell me what the skeleton is. I just want the subject and the verb. And you have to ask these questions. First you have to ask, who ran? And then you have to tell me what he did. So who ran? Johnny. Everybody together. Johnny. Johnny ran. That is our subject, and they have to write SN for subject noun. What did Johnny do? Ran. And so here is our verb. If we diagrammed it, it would be just like that. Johnny ran. And that's what Maria did on the test. Just the subject and verb. I don't even know if there were any compound verbs or subjects in there. I don't remember. So it was a pretty simple process that she actually completed. Then, sometimes we have things like prepositional phrases that pop into our sentence. And I'm going to make you guys, I'm probably going to put this on the has next week, but I'm going to make you guys put this in your notebooks. I should make you memorize it just like the third graders are doing. We look on page 106. Flip to 106. See if it's on there. Oh, it's not. I thought there would be a nice little list. Let me see if I can find some. Chart 517. Let's see if that's it. 517, here we go. There is a chart of common prepositions. I'd like for you to take a picture of that with your phone later on and put it in your notebook. Maybe you tape it on the inside. So when we're talking about prepositional phrases, you don't have to flip to page 517, but you can open that up to see if the words we're looking at are on that list. And if we look down, let's see if over is in there. Yep, over is in there. Not all of them are on there. But we would recognize that this right here is a prepositional phrase. Now, a bunch of you, I think John told me, was it you that told me your mom told you just get rid of them? Yeah. Maybe Ava, and you guys who have been here, you know that you knock them out of, they cannot be the subject or verb. They're not good for much of anything except to give lots more description. Now, the first word in the phrase, in the parentheses, is always going to be the preposition. That's what starts it. Now, if you had been in third grade the other day, I said, when I ask you, how does the prepositional phrase begin, or what does the prepositional phrase begin with, you would scream, and I don't want to scream because we bother these guys next door. Maybe we can scream outside, but they screamed. They were better than any class I've ever had. Preposition, really loud. By the end of the day, they knew what prepositions and object of the prepositions were because they'd been screaming about it. Huh? They were super loud. Plus, we were the only ones over in the parish hall. So, nobody was going to come tell us to be quiet. Then, the word that finishes the phrase is the object of the preposition, O-P. I'm going to write it out for you. The object of the preposition. There's two things you need to know about prepositional phrases. That it begins with a preposition and ends with an object of the preposition. But the whole thing is useless when we're looking for the subject and verb. Don't even consider it. Over, under, between, around, all of those words are prepositions, and you need to be little grammar detectives. And when you're picking up apart a sentence, you're dissecting it. Anybody want to be a doctor in here? Yeah. You might be doing some dissecting.
I want to be a doctor in paleontology.
You don't like people, but you want to be a vet. Yeah. Well, you might be doing some dissecting of animals.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to be a doctor, John? Did you raise your hand? A vet. Ooh, we might have a lot of little vets in here. So dissecting has to be a part of your brain. You have to dissect sentences too. Now, if you just looked at a dog and sliced him down the belly,
alive or dead,
and just kind of opened him up and said, "Oh, that's the problem," I would be a little concerned about leaving my dog with you. Because what I want you to do is I want you to get in there and I want you to look at all the organs. And I want you to look at where we think the pain is. And I want you to try to diagnose and figure out what's going on. The same thing's happening as you're looking at these sentences. You're just kind of looking at them and, I don't know, I think that's the subject. If the vet says, I don't know, I think that's the problem, would you leave your dog there? No. You want him to say for sure, that is the subject and that is the verb. This is the problem and this is the cure. It's the same thing with sentences. You have to go into with the mentality that you are a grammar doctor. And you have got to be looking for several different things. And I have a little checklist at home, so I might bring that in. But you've got to find that subject and verb first. And these are the questions that you need to answer. I had all kinds of subjects and verbs that came in on that one section of the test where it says to find the direct object and indirect object, predicate, nominative. I had all kinds of words coming up in that for subject, verb, direct objects, whatever it was. And so you've got to know what to look for and identify those things. So that once you can get the subject and verb out of the way, then you're good. Now, if you see the word "and" in your sentence, what are some red flags? Just like if a vet saw a big red thing that shouldn't be in the dog of your belly, he would be alerted. What does the word "and" alert you to?
There's something wrong.
No, there's not something wrong. Maria? Compound something. It could be a compound. Well, tell me all the compounds it could be. Wesley, any ideas of what a compound what?
I think about looking in the book.
You want to phone a friend?
Yes.
Mr. Record, any compounds that you can think of? Compound subject, compound verb.
Compound adjective.
We could see "and." What else? Could be compound adjective. What else could we have a compound of? What else could we have a compound of besides individual words? We just learned about it the other day. Luke. A compound sentence. And should be a big thing. If you see the word and, you know something's going to happen in that sentence. You're either going to have the pencil point for two subjects or two verbs, or you're going to have two independent clauses. Maria brought her homework up, and Wesley told Mrs. Jernigan he didn't have his. Okay? Two sentences, two complete things. They could have stood alone. You told me when you came in.
I did everything that we were told to. I just didn't watch the video.
Okay, let me correct. Maria brought her homework up front, and Wesley told Mrs. Jernigan he couldn't watch the video. Okay, is that better? There we go. Two complete thoughts, clauses put together by this word and. So little grammar doctors, if you see the word and, you better get your red pen out and start figuring out why it's in there. That's the first thing. If you're taking notes, which is probably a wonderful idea because I'm doing a lot of review right now, and should be at the top of your page. If I see and, I better be alert to a diagnosis of this sentence. The other thing I would be really alert to is those prepositions, because that is what trips you guys up. And I want to say one of the sentences was something like, Mom baked a cake for Dad. And I did put this in there with the intention of trying to trick you. And most of you worked. And I can't remember if it was homework or what. But it was something like this. Mom baked a cake for Dad. All right, who baked? Mom. We should all be able to get that. What did Mom do? Baked. So we know our skeleton right there, subject, noun, verb. Then I'm going to ask that next question. What did she bake? A cake. Who did she bake the cake for? What is that? Who said preposition? Did you say John? John got it. Prepositional phrase. You may not put I-O over Dad because it's in a prepositional phrase. It is not an indirect object. An indirect object is generally going to come before the direct object. But you can't. Remember, those prepositional phrases are useless. I'd love to see it on your homework if you're crossing them out. Get your little preposition chart out. And if you see all these little groups of words, start crossing them out. Because you know that the subject and verb, direct object, indirect object are not going to be in prepositional phrases. That's the big rule. I'm just going to put it up here. Nothing. Do you remember in biblical times when, I can't remember if it was before Jesus' birth or after. Perhaps it's when it's prophesied that he will be born in Nazareth. And I can't remember if it's a Pharisee, and this is what I get myself into trouble when I'm talking off the top of my head, but they say nothing good can come from Nazareth. Well, I'm going to use that quote. Nothing good can come from a prepositional phrase. Whoops. Got the word from. Nothing good can come from it. Nothing, at least, that you really need to put on in the diagram. Not the subject, not the verb, not the indirect, not the direct, not the predicate nominative, not the predicate adjective. None of those primaries are going to be in a prepositional phrase. And if you can learn to get those crossed out, life gets so much easier. Okay? So some of the questions that you need to ask, and then the two big things you need to look for. Look for those conjunctions, and, or, nor, but, for, and then realize that nothing of substance is going to come out of a prepositional phrase. Now, since we've done a little bit of review, and hopefully we're all on the same page, and maybe I might give you a little quiz like right before we go out for mass break. And I might ask a couple of these questions. So if you haven't written them down, you may want to write them down. But I do want to jump into what is a compound complex sentence, and it's pretty easy. It has two or more independent, I'm back on 82, I know we veered greatly, but it has two or more independent clauses and at least one dependent. So this is where we get into, if I tell you to start doing more complex sentences, I'm talking about two things. One, I just want you to build the complexity. But number two, that means I want you to put independent and dependent clauses in it. So a compound complex means I have two independents. So I could do something like, Jordan rode his bike and Katie rode her skateboard as they hiked along the trail. Well, I have that and in there. Jordan rode his bike. Do you have a bike, Jordan? Yeah. Jordan rode his bike and Katie rode her skateboard. Then I throw in one of those WWW words. That's all a clause is. As they hiked along the trail. So the as they hiked along the trail is not a complete thought. It can't stand by itself, but those other two can. So it's like the family is growing. Did you see that? We have two independent clauses. We have mom and dad. Jordan rode his bike. That's one independent clause. He can be all by himself. And Katie, I didn't mean to put them together, boy and girl, so forgive me for that. And Katie rode her, what did I say? You rode a skateboard? Yeah, her skateboard. As they hiked along the trail, though, it was dependent. And that's like the little kid. And the family has grown. Now, I could make that really long. I could say, Jordan rode his bike. I'm forgetting it. Jordan rode his bike, and Katie rode her skateboard as they hiked along the trail while it was raining. Let's see if I can get something else in there.
At 3 a.m.
No, because what is that? Yes, you threw in a prepositional phrase. You got to throw in one of the WWW words. As it was raining, because they were 2 miles in, something like that. That's three.
Wait,
Dependents,
WWW.
two independents. Yeah, the WWW words. So the family grows. In a compound complex sentence, it's just like a big family. But you got to have mom and dad in that complex, or compound complex. You have to have mom and dad, and then you can have as many little children as you want that start with those WWW words. So I want you now to create your own. So you can use whatever topic, you can use animals, whatever. Yeah, you're going to write your own sentence. It's got to have two completely independent that could stand all by themselves, and as many little children that start with the WWW. Remember when, where,
The subject.
while, as, since, if, although, and because. You can throw in there too. So remember mom and dad, at least one little kid. Yes. Yeah, you can do it together.
Quick question.
If you want to. Yes.
I was reading this and I couldn't really catch it.
Okay.
It's a direct op. So this is the subject now is supposed to be.
Discuss the skeleton.
I'm trying to think about the thing we're doing.
Oh, so it's two independent clauses. So like the example I just did with Jordan. And then there's one additional dependent, and those are going to start with when, where, while, as, since. So first of all, come up with your two independent clauses that could be sentences all by themselves. You can actually think of two sentences that could be all by themselves, and then just take out the period and put in an and instead. Think in terms of the family. Got mom and dad and the little kids.
in progress.
Like I said, we're going to camp on this chapter for another at least week or two, and we're going to be just doing review. I know that I hit the ground running with you guys, and that was intentional, but I also want to make sure we understand this before we move on to other harder stuff. Well, not really. It doesn't get really much harder. The first couple of chapters are hardest. Once you've got your sentence, look up, because I'd love for a couple of you to read them to me.
Can you check mine?
Can I check it? Okay. Okay, so once you Wesley worked and a lot of your plays, and then something like, because they were bored, or as the day went on, or something like that. But you've got it, you just want to put in there. Don't use the while yet, because you need two things that can be completely by themselves. So Wesley played is one. Claudia, or Wesley worked, and then Claudia played. So just put an and between them and we'll have it all. Okay, does anybody have any to share? Not yet. All right, who's got one they want to share? And then if it's not exactly right, that's okay. We'll help you fix it. So just call on people. Nobody will look at me. How about Maria and Kirsty? You guys have something? Feel fairly confident of you guys. Lower the expectations. Okay. Well, your classmates are going to help you fix it. So. Okay, that's right. Is it? Yeah, so Fred walks his lizard. Yeah, you could end that with a period. If you can end it with a period, that would be a whole sentence. And then, and who ran over the donut? Fred. Fred ran over the donut. Because, so both of those could have had, they could take the conjunction out and make both of them independent. But they put the conjunction in. And then because he was mad, that can't stand by itself, so that's the little dependent kid, like you guys are right now. Well, you are. I mean, that's just fact. All right. How about Mr. Mills? Do you have something you would share?
I do also lower.
Lower the expectation. Okay, I'll lower for everybody. How's that?
I was gonna do. It's gonna be really boring, so then I added the header.
Okay.
The dog barked when the cat exploded as it rained.
Perfect. So the dog barked. They don't have to be complicated. The dog barked and the cat exploded. So both of those, if you took the and out, could have a period and they could be very short sentences. And then as it rained, is that what you said? As it rained. So if you're using one of those words as the starter for the independent clause, you should be fine. Luke, you got one?
Mom baked and Dad crashed the car as the house burned because we had to find it in the stove.
So he has 2 children, and he brings fire into it. That was just your brother that used to bring fire into everything. You do that too? Yeah, okay.
He does it all the time. He's like, I like playing with
Okay.
fire.
So he actually had 2 independents that could have been sentences all by themselves. That's the test. Can it be a sentence all by itself? And then he threw in 2 clauses, or dependents. All right, who else has one they want to share? Ava, do you have anything? You have to finish it, okay. John?
Mom baked a cake and Dad went to the store to look at eggs.
Okay, so you've got the 2 independents. Mom baked the cake. Mom baked. And that always happens when I'm baking. I'm always missing something. And so Dad's got to go to the store. So Mom baked and Dad went to the store. 4 milk and eggs is what? You're the expert on prepositional phrases. So yes, 4 milk and eggs. Now instead, let's use when, where, while, as, since, if, although, because. You could insert one of those in and say, because we needed milk and eggs, or since we had run out of milk and eggs. So it's usually really easy to go back and forth and take a preposition, kick it out, and put a clausal in with a couple other words. Anybody else want to read theirs? Katie, you got one? As their owner slept? Very good. So the dog went to daycare? Or school? Bikes to daycare. Okay. As their owner slept. Again, both of those could stand alone. So you've got the 2 independents, and then you add in the clausal dependent. So hopefully this helps a little bit. We're going to take, and I hesitate to even show you the diagramming, but look at page 84. Because I do want you to see how you take this. Your mom and dad are on equal footing, right? Your mom and your dad are both partners in raising you guys and running the house and all of that. So if that can help you to remember in your diagramming, and I did look up, there are some other ways to diagram independent clauses. You can run the word and down and have 2 lines. I like keeping them on the same line because mom and dad are both just as important. Oh, I'm sorry that I'm torturing you, Wesley. So if you look at that top line, we have mom and dad on top. We have leaves are changing colors. Then they must use a semicolon. So, yeah, we can expect frost. There's our independent clauses. Mom and dad standing right there together at the altar. You know, they're all together. And there's either a conjunction or the semicolon in there. Now, you guys are the dependent, and you're just not as important as your parents right now. And so you got to come underneath them. And that's where that line comes down with one of these words. And then the other part, the dependent clause. So let me see if I can look at the whole thing. Leaves are changing colors. We can expect frost. Since the days are getting shorter. So this one, the one that's got this word, is the one that comes underneath. If you can remember that. This word is going to be underneath mom, dad, kids, down here. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that diagramming yet. We're going to go back. We're going to be doing a lot of review of what we've already learned. But I do want you just to have a picture of what it's going to look like when we get to it. Let me just look and see. You might be doing a little bit of diagramming. Homework. Oh, here. Let me see what you are doing. Oh, you're doing worksheet 7. Let me see how hard the diagramming is. So I am going to only have you might want to write this down. This is important. I'm going to have you do 1 and 4 of the diagramming. 1 and 4. It's perfect because they each have a mom and a dad with a kid underneath. Mom and dad with kid underneath. Well, 1 and 4, you're doing a worksheet page. And I just want you to try it. If you're totally lost, then just make sure you're giving me the skeletons.
Wait, 1 and 4 on the...
1 and 4, so you're going to be doing worksheet 7.
On the little
Worksheet 7, paper. And for the diagramming part, you're doing 1 and 4. Okay? And again, I just want to make sure that you are getting those skeletons. I don't really care about the other stuff, but make sure you're finding the subject and verb in all of those pieces. Okay? Fair enough? All right, let's do a math